What's up, everybody? It's Izzy, and in this video I want to talk about what I think is a pretty unconventional take on grip that I personally have. But before we get into that, I want to use an example to kind of illustrate a point that I'm going to be making throughout the rest of the video. What if somebody told you that it was completely sufficient in order to maximize your quad strength and hypertrophy to do solely isometrics? And what I mean by that is, what if someone told you that all you had to do to maximize your quads was sit in the bottom of a squat and hold it, or squat upwards against a pin that isn't going to move, and all you had to do was isometric training in order to maximize and optimize your quad strength? I think you would probably laugh that off and rightly say that in order to maximize hypertrophy and strength in any given muscle group, you're going to need to train it over a full range of motion with a concentric and eccentric cycle, right? However, for some reason, there's certain muscle groups in powerlifting where people don't believe this is true, and grip is probably the most prominent one. If it's not true for your quads or your triceps or your biceps, why would it be true for your grip? And look, I get it. It is true that when you're new to something, anything will cause adaptations. And what I mean by that is, let's say that someone has never trained their biceps before. Just lowering the bar on the bench press will give them some bicep growth for a while because the biceps are involved in the eccentric on a bench press. However, if they want further and further bicep gains, they're going to have to increase the specificity of their means of training and do things like curls in order to maximize the hypertrophy of their biceps. And again, it's exactly the same for grip. So I'm well aware that some people never ever have a problem with the grip on their deadlift. And that's because if you have relatively big hands, you use chalk, and you have good equipment with good knurling, it simply does not take that much grip strength to hold on to 500 and 600 pound deadlifts. And that's why a lot of people never have problems with this until they get into the upper 600s or 700 range. And that's where you can start to see the grip really become an issue. And I would just like to make this point. If you want to optimize your grip, you need to do more than just specific deadlift grip training, because again, deadlift grip training is only going to train the isometric function of your grip. It's not going to be enough to maximize the strength and hypertrophy of the gripping muscles. Now, it is going to be very important to do things like time deadlift holds in order to increase your skill of actually, using a deadlift grip to hold on to a deadlift. But it's much more effective, just like with your quads, just like with your triceps, just like with your biceps, to use a full range of motion with a concentric and eccentric cycle in combination with the actual skill that you need in competition. So if your grip is an issue, I really strongly recommend that you do direct grip training. And on top of that, you can do some of the more specific things as well, like hold on to a heavy deadlift for 10 to 20 seconds or whatever. In combination, these things will work much better than either one in isolation, because you still need the specific skill, but at the same time recognize that once you get to a certain level of advancement in your training, it's no longer going to be sufficient to optimize your grip strength by just doing deadlifts. It just isn't enough. It's only isometric training, and really it's not even that demanding. And if you have any sort of grip demands on you in any sport other than powerlifting, you'll find out how true this is very quickly. If you ever do grappling or strongman, you will see how insufficient it is to simply use a mixed grip and count on that to improve your grip strength tremendously. It just does not work. Now, here's another controversial point that I want to make. If your grip is limiting you on deadlift, I actually think that you should switch to straps. So I don't mean use straps for all of your sets. I just mean that as soon as you start to feel your hands getting really beat up and your grip slipping, switch to straps for your work sets, and then simply add grip specific training to the end of your workout. And I'm talking about timed deadlift holds. And probably the best way to get a concentric and eccentric, stretch shortening cycle is through the use of grippers such as those made by Iron Mind, like the Captains of Crush. And I think this is a much better way of approaching things than actually letting your grip be the limiting factor on your deadlift. And the reason why I say that is this. It is very difficult to get hypertrophy gains in the hamstrings, the glutes, the lower back, and the upper back specific to your deadlift, right? That's a difficult thing to achieve. However, for most people, the grip will improve rapidly once you finally start to introduce grip-specific training. And the reason for this is that, of course, you're relatively untrained in this area because most powerlifters do not do grip specific training in the sense of they're actually doing something with a concentric and eccentric stretch shortening cycle. So when you introduce this training, you're going to get a rapid response. And to me, it simply just does not make sense to sacrifice gains in your deadlift muscles because of your grip when you can easily address your grip afterwards with specific means of training like deadlift holds and, of course, like I'm saying, grippers. So again, to summarize here, my key points are as follows. Isometrics are not enough to optimize hypertrophy and strength in any muscle group. You wouldn't do only isometrics for your quads or your triceps or your biceps, so why would you only do isometrics for your grip? It doesn't make sense. I would recommend that if you have a grip problem to do direct grip training, a combination of timed deadlift holds with your competition grip and doing things like grippers with a concentric and eccentric stretch shortening cycle across a full range of motion will result in much better gains in the grip musculature and thus over time a much stronger grip than simply doing only deadlifts. And the last point to follow up on those 2 points is that if your grip is limiting you in a given workout on your deadlift, I would actually recommend that you switch to straps because you're not doing deadlifts to train your grip. Deadlifts are ineffective as the primary means of training your grip. The only thing that they're effective for is training your deadlift grip. They're not effective overall as a grip strengthener. So why would you let your grip be the limiting factor on a movement that you're actually doing in order to increase your hip strength, your back strength, etc.? It doesn't make sense to me. And what I would recommend, overall final point here, is that simply train your grip directly if you have problems with your grip and use straps as necessary when your hands begin to slip. And overall, I think you will see that the combination of all of these things leads to both better deadlift gains and a stronger grip over time. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. As always, my friends, good luck with your training and have a nice day. Peace.